Hey guys, Comics G-Man. I saw Critical Drinker put out a video on Young Washington, and I just thought it would be apt that we talk about it, we watch it. I didn't watch it yet. It's only 6 minutes because I made a review myself about why I didn't like the movie. So it seems like he liked the movie and everyone else, like Film Threat, loved the movie, which is fine, dude. Like, I have nothing against that. Like I said in my last video, if you liked Young Washington, like, God bless. But I just thought it was extremely boring. So let's just react to Critical Drinker, see what he says about it. I mean, I am curious.
George Washington. The name alone is enough to conjure up images of brave patriots standing up to tyranny and oppression, hard-won victories against superior opponents, and building a nation out of scattered colonies and untamed wilderness. He was the hero of the Revolutionary War, the father of America, and if you're into Warhammer 40k, one of the early incarnations of the Emperor of Mankind. Praise be to the Emperor. The point, though, is that Washington's life and accomplishments have been glorified and magnified and deified by so many generations of historians, storytellers, and propagandists that it's become kinda hard to separate fact from fiction, and all too easy to lose sight of the flawed and human man behind all the bluster and patriotism. That is where Young Washington comes into the picture, shedding light on an earlier chapter of Washington's life when he was nothing but a lowly farmer desperate to make something of himself, still fighting for the British instead of against them, and a very long way from the formidable general he'd one day become. And since it's the 4th of July weekend, everyone in America's busy celebrating the birth of their country by getting drunk and blowing up small parts of it, and the movie's managed to beat Supergirl at the box office. I figured I might as well take a look myself. The movie kicks off in 1750s colonial America, where the British and French are racing to grab as much of the New World as possible, and between them, the native...
You see, like, the way he's explaining the movie, and like, I mean, he did a great job, like, explaining what the movie is, what it's about, and it sounds great, doesn't it? Like, it really sounds good, but I'm telling you, dude, I was bored out of my mind watching it. I thought it was extremely boring.
Americans who for obvious reasons aren't particularly keen on either side. Into the mix steps a 20-year-old George Washington, an obscure farmer from Virginia who aspires to bigger and better things and tries to join the British Army as an officer only to get turned down because he's not rich or upper class or, well, British. Eventually though, he blags his way into a high society party and charms the host into letting him survey the newly claimed lands of Ohio. But tensions rise when he discovers the French army have decided that it belongs...
Yeah, like these guys that he travels with, like, they're not interesting at all. They're boring. And Critical Drinker, like, he's explaining it right, like, all that happened in the movie, but it's so lame, dude. It's not as interesting as he's making it sound.
To them instead, and are building fortifications there. Clearly this shall not be allowed to stand, sir. After reporting back to the governor, he's sent there to deliver an ultimatum. Fuck off or face the consequences. Now everyone expects the French to do what they do best, surrender, but they're like, nah, it'll be fine. Or should I say, non, sera. So naturally there's a bit of a set to and a bunch of Frenchmen get killed in the fighting, but then they come back with a much bigger army, totally kicked...
Yeah, this is where we walked out. Like, even the action scenes weren't that good. I mean, it was okay, but, like, the music sucked in this movie. The action was generic. You know, like, you watch a movie like Last of the Mohicans, which is set in the same time period that Young Washington is in. And that movie was directed by Michael Mann. So Michael Mann made, like, he made a lot of great movies. So the action scenes in that were really intense, and it was the music that really made Last of the Mohicans stand out as well, because it felt epic. This didn't have that. It didn't have that at all. Like, this just felt like a glorified History Channel movie in the theaters.
Washington's arse and force him to sign a humiliating surrender that blames everything on him. Demoralized by the disaster, he resigns from the army and goes back to farming, only to discover that maybe, just maybe, he's not done yet. And when he learns that the Brits are mounting a major offensive to take the fortress and give those Frenchies a bloody good hiding, he decides to throw his hat in the ring and take one last shot at glory. Now, historical epics are hardly a new invention, but they do seem to be having a bit of a resurgence these days. Napoleon was... well, definitely a movie of all time.
You think you're so great because you have boats! 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 Boats!
Oh my god.
And as for the
can't
Odyssey,
believe Ridley Scott did that.
well, that remains to be seen, but as far as Young Washington goes, it actually kinda surprised me. I was expecting some jingoistic, overblown celebration of the man's legacy, as flattering and saccharine as it was inaccurate, but it's actually a pretty fair portrayal of him as a heroic but flawed man, desperate to prove himself, ambitious and resourceful, but also naive and inexperienced, all too capable of making mistakes and letting pride and ego get the better of him.
It sounds better than it actually is, though. I'm sorry.
In factor, though, is his ability to learn from his mistakes and move past them to bigger and better things. He's a man always striving to better himself, whether it's in education, social standing, or the art of war, and I like how the movie's pretty honest about his motivations here. He's not out to build nations and better the cause of humanity, he's just a brash young man seeking fortune and glory for its own sake, and chafing under the suffocating restrictions of the British class system. He's reasonably well portrayed by William Franklin Miller, who's got the kind of chiseled good looks that have got nothing to do with the real life Washington, who wasn't considered especially handsome, but they're ideal for a Hollywood epic where the audience needs to be won over quickly, and he's mostly able to hold his own against experienced players like Ben Kingsley, Kelsey Grammer, and Andy Serkis.
Who none of them stood out in any of the performances. And not like Ben Kingsley is great and Kelsey Grammer is great. As you know, I love Frasier. But it's very blah. I don't know, dude. Like, I've seen it before. It wasn't anything special.
On the production side of things, I've got no real issues here. For a movie that clearly wasn't made on a huge budget, the overall look and feel is better than it has any right to be. The period settlements and costumes are convincing.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. The cinematography is actually really nice. The colors are very good. But that's about it. That's about it about the movie.
Enough to let you buy into it, and the battle and action sequences are well staged, even if they're disappointingly bloodless. Going for
Right. It feels fake. It feels fucking lame. Last of the Mohicans did this right. And that movie was like, what, 1987? Glory? You ever see Glory with Morgan Freeman and Matthew Broderick? One of the greatest Civil War movies I think ever created. What other movies do I like? The war movies. I mean, like, look, I know there are a lot of good war movies and they don't show the blood and stuff, but, I mean, it's made by Angel Studios, so I think they're kind of snooty. I think they're kind of like, you know, they're too much with the wanting to be religious because they're trying to net in, you know, like the religious audience, the MAGA audience, the Patriot audience, which is understandable from a marketing standpoint, like from a business standpoint. So that they're smart for doing that, you know, and they're trying to make it as general as they can so they could get all ages of people to see it. But frankly, I think this movie would have been a lot more interesting if it was more gritty and bloody, because the action scenes, they didn't feel like anything, like it didn't feel like it was like so, it didn't feel like it had any meaning or impact.
For that family-friendly rating, clearly. You can tell they say...
Right, okay, so even he admits that. Even he admits that here. And I think that's the biggest mistake. And I honestly think the title Young Washington is fucking gay. It's fucking dumb. I do not like that title. Even if you just called it Washington, or, I mean, anything else, but Young Washington, it just sounds generic as fuck, and it just sounds childish. It's not a good... Like, you know, that's like Last of the Mohicans... is such a great title because it's so interesting. It's like about the last of a certain people and all of the things that they go through, the struggle between choosing sides and really not wanting anything to do with the French or the English and just wanting to be their own thing, and they're living in between that war at the time. So, but I don't get that depth from this movie at all.
To their resources for the big climactic battle at the end, which was definitely the right move. In terms of historical accuracy, the movie broadly follows real events, but condenses and simplifies some of the more tedious stuff for the sake of narrative expediency and drama. In real life, Washington was extremely pro-British and arrogant to the point of self-sabotage at that point in his life. He threw a major hissy fit and resigned his commission in the Virginia militia when he found out it was being converted into a regular army unit and he was going to get demoted from colonel to captain. He had no particular issues with the British class system and
I mean, none of that is a surprise, because if you watch my last video criticizing this movie, like, I know, like, that the Americans, like, adhered. They loved the English for years. They wanted to be like the English. They sent their kids to England to come back and act like the English, to dress like the English. They wanted to copy the English culture. So, like, none of that about Washington is a surprise to me. And none of what they depicted in the movie of him being basically a cuck for the English Empire, none of that was a surprise to me, because I already knew that. That was just the way it was in America before the Revolution. But, like, to me as a movie, it didn't work. It just didn't work for me.
Actually spent years trying to rise through the ranks, and he definitely wasn't some working class down on his luck.
Oh, and this love interest with this girl that he's with, totally fucking flat.
Some working class.
I didn't give two shits about this. You know, you can't top Madeline Stowe and Daniel Day-Lewis's romance in Last of the Mohicans. I'm just saying.
Down on his luck farmer.
And I know you can say, oh, they're not trying to be Last of the Mohicans. Why do you keep bringing that up? I'm bringing it up because it's really a movie that's the closest to the subject. Like, it's in the same historical setting. It's got the same kind of idea a little bit, but it does it better than Washington does.
Who had to blag his way into high society events. He was a wealthy and successful landowner even as a young man, the kind of guy who absolutely would have been on the invite list. Oh yeah, and some of the dialogue is pretty anachronistic too. At one point Washington says, yeah, and tells a wounded man he's gonna be okay. Two words that wouldn't even be invented for another 100 years.
Yeah, dude, I mean, okay, I understand what he's trying to say, anachronistic, so then you can make the argument, well, it's because it's a modern movie, and they're just trying to just make a movie in modern times, and they're not thinking it's so important to be, like, as accurate to how people spoke at the time. Fine. But I honestly, my criticism is the dialogue just in general in this movie sucks. It's boring. There's no character development that I actually care about anybody. There's no good character dynamics between anybody. It's just like a and then Washington wants to do this, Washington does this, Washington does that. The British say no, he does this. The British say no, he volunteers for Kelsey Grammer's troop. It's not like a nice, interesting flow and evolution. I just feel like it just feels very generic.
Or so. Ultimately, Young Washington falls more into the Braveheart school of historical epics, sacrificing realism for the sake of drama and excitement.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, Critical Drinker, dude, you just made a blasphemous statement here with me. You just compared this piece of shit movie to Braveheart? Are you fucking kidding me? Sacrificing realism for the sake of drama and excitement. Yeah, okay, yes. I even said this in, like, when I started this channel, I talked about, like, Braveheart, why I loved it so much. Like, and I'm well aware of the historical sacrifice, like, how they sacrificed the accuracy in that movie, right? But Braveheart is a fucking awesome movie. I mean, it's an epic, classic movie. And whether you like it or not, everybody remembers the last scene, right? I mean, whatever you have to say about Mel Gibson or Braveheart, everybody remembers the last scene of Braveheart. There is not a single fucking scene in this movie where I could say, I didn't even finish it, you know? But, like, I could see there's not a single fucking moment in this movie that makes me say, I'll always remember this. It was a slog. It was forgettable. There was nothing about it that stood out at all. There are so many moments. And I mean, the supporting cast in Braveheart alone decimates Young Washington. Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, no offense to Critical Drinker. I get what he's trying to say, dude. Like, I understand what he's trying to say here. But I mean, come on, like from William Wallace in the movie, his, like, friend, the big guy that they're throwing rocks and picking up rocks and fighting each other in the beginning because they were friends as children, and they used to like fight with each other and imagine fighting the English. Like just the even the characters, the supporting cast in Braveheart were so good. You remember everybody in Braveheart, from the littlest people. The villain in that, the guy, the king was so evil. The king's son, who was like a faggot, and he didn't even like the princess that he was supposed to marry just so they could continue. And how the king killed his boyfriend and threw him out of the window in that one scene. Or let me just, even the queen, the princess who was with the gay king's son, who fell in love with Braveheart, the French princess, you guys who've watched it, you know how she was fantastic. The love interest between him and the French princess was so good, and the love interest that he had with his first wife, who was murdered by the English, was like so beautifully done. So to compare Young Washington to Braveheart, it's like, I just feel like that's I'm surprised that Critical Drinker is even doing that. I mean, he's like apparently like the biggest cinema critic on YouTube, right? That people watch. You can't even compare Braveheart to this. Are you kidding me? Even like the funny characters in that. Like, remember the crazy Irishman that they meet in the woods? And he saves William from somebody who's about to stab him in the back, but like they made you think that the crazy Irishman was gonna kill William because he's like about to throw his fucking knife at him, but it's like he threw it at the guy who was behind him. Like, dude, that's what I'm saying. I was saying this in my last video of Young Washington. I was saying I don't care about the historical shit. If I want historical accuracy, I'll read the book. I'll read a book on Washington, or make a mini-series that's trying to be accurate. But a movie, dude, you could be accurate, yeah, I guess, but it really should be about, is the movie entertaining? Does it have style? Is it memorable? And what stands out about the movie? Washington does not have any of this, and everyone is going to hate me for it. They're going to accuse me of being woke. They're going to accuse me of being unpatriotic. Fine, dude, I don't give a shit. Say what you want. That doesn't bother me at all. But the fact is, everybody is gonna fluff this movie up because it's appeasing to the patriotism, the MAGA movement stuff, and nobody will admit that this is just not a good movie because it fits in with their political ideology, their team. Now, I would have liked this movie to be good because I love American history. I have nothing against American history, as I've clarified in my other videos. But this is a boring movie, okay? So, yeah, man, that just pissed me off that he said that about Braveheart. I can't believe he said that.
Meant rather than the meticulous reconstruction of something like Lincoln, a rousing, patriotic movie that contains just enough truth to shed light on a time in the man's life that often gets overlooked, without getting too bogged down in the tedium and complexity of real life. Releasing it on the 4th of July weekend was an obvious choice to take advantage of all that pro-America sentiment, and to be fair...
Oh, no, yeah, I agree with that. Actually, you know what's fucking hilarious? When Superman 2025 came out, it came out on like July 11th, I believe. And when I saw when it was coming out at the time, I was like saying to my grandpa, I said, this is Superman. I mean, he's like red, white, and blue kind of thing. Like, he's very, I mean, I know people are going to argue that the James Gunn Superman isn't patriotic. He's against America just because he stands up against Lex Luthor, and it's kind of making a statement about our involvement in the Middle East. But, like, anyway, I was saying at the time that, like, Superman, they should have made it come out on July 4th. So that was a big mistake, too. That was silly that they did July 11th. So, yeah, like okay, yeah, they're very smart. Angel, I don't like them. I think they're pretentious. I think they're kind of like, I don't know, dude. I'm not crazy about them. But they know their audience. They know their audience, and they know how to play the game. So I will give Angel that.
It worked. The film's killing it at the box office, and apparently a trilogy is planned that'll chart Washington's life through the Revolution and on to the presidency. And you know what? I might just watch it, since it's basically illegal to take any kind of pride in your country over on this side.
I could see that. I honestly would be probably more interested in, like, his phases of life, like, during the actual revolution. So, But again, I wouldn't see it in the movies. I'll just probably stream it if they are going to make a trilogy. But if they do, I hope it's better than this. I hope they do something better than this. Because this had no soul at all. This was fucking boring. All it had was really nice cinematography. But that's about it. The characters were boring. The dialogue was flat. But yeah, I mean, I would like to see him older. And I hope they do a different actor, though. Because this guy didn't do anything for me.
Of the pond, it's nice to live vicariously through people who still know how to do the whole patriotism thing. Young Washington might not be a perfect movie, but it'll definitely keep you engaged for a couple of hours. And
It didn't. It didn't keep me engaged at all. We walked out in the first hour of the movie. I'm sad to say it, dude, because before we went to the movies to see this, like, we were excited about it. Like, even my grandfather, like, because he doesn't go to the movies much, but he said that he really wanted to see this. You know, he was excited to see Young Washington, and I was curious too. I wasn't expecting this to be like an epic, like a Last of the Mohicans. I just bring it up because it's like in the same setting, and I say this is why Last of the Mohicans was such a great movie, and this is what works. But, you know, I was expecting at least a decent, you know, thing, and something that would be, like, you know, enjoyable, but it wasn't enjoyable at all. Like, it was putting me to sleep.
it might just teach you a thing or two along the way.
It didn't. It didn't teach me anything. I already know half of the shit, and they don't even do that good of a job of it. So, but look, that's just how I feel about it. Critical Drinker, he does his thing. Everyone is pushing the movie because, you know, the Patriot thing, that's what they're doing. That's fine. Like, I'm not talking shit. Have fun with it. But I've seen better. All I'm saying. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Comment. Let me know your thoughts, and have a good night. Like and sub.